Hey coders, I want to talk to you about 6 different things today. I have gone ahead and outlined what those 6 things are here. We're going to talk about the code editor. We're going to talk about beautifying your code. We're going to talk about canvas and background, creating your first shape, color, and the all-powerful dot modifier. So many of you are new to coding, and this may be your first code editor. It's pretty simple. It is just a text editor. It's a text editor, and then the compiler puts that together for the computer to read. But this is meant for to be a space where humans read what goes on in here. And so there are a bunch of things that make it more helpful for humans to read. We already saw the comments. So the comments are the 2 forward slashes, or a multi-line comment is a forward slash and an asterisk, ended by an asterisk and a forward slash. These are going to be very helpful for you. I want you to use them whenever it's useful. Imagine yourself looking at your code in the future. That's a good way to think about commenting. Or if you want to communicate to me, this could be for your citations in your code. If you've received help from somewhere or used a link online, remember everything has to be cited in this class, so the comment is a good way to do that. On the left side of the code editor, you will see a row of numbers. The row of numbers, these are all the line numbers. They help communicate if something's going wrong at line 40 or line 27, and one of your teammates needs to know about it. You can say, hey, I'm having trouble at line 27. Can you take a look at it? When you develop larger projects, there will be thousands of lines of code. So it's great to have a little address for different places. So that is the basics of the code editor, and we're going to move on to beautifying your code. Now, I want you to pay attention to the way that these are indented. There is an indent here. There's also a bar here that indicates the indent. And these indents are very crucial. They're really important. And what they do is they help humans read the structure of your code. I want you to make sure that everything you turn in this class is properly indented. And sometimes it's hard to know whether there is proper indentation. So I'm going to remove the indentation on here, and I'm going to show you a little trick that's going to help you. So right now this is incorrectly indented, but there is a tool in the editor pull-down menu. If you select structure and go to re-indent, and the shortcut is Control-I. If I click right now, it won't actually do anything. It does have to be selected. So select all, re-indent, and you'll see your indents are here. If you have hundreds of pages of code, that tool is invaluable, and I want you all to get used to re-indenting constantly. So that is beautifying your code. Now let's get to the canvas. So if I hit play and launch the simulator, it's going to launch the app. Sometimes the simulator takes a little while to load when it's first loading, but if you just keep it open, it won't take as long the next time around. So there you go. If you see the console has output some junk, that means that it is running, and it's going to give you feedback down here if anything goes wrong or if you have messages built into your software. So right now it's white. There's nothing going on, but this is our canvas. And the software, the area where we write our code, is called the Canvas Controller. And the name of this Canvas Controller is called Workspace. So this is where all of the action happens. If, say, for example, I wanted to change the background color, I'm going to show you how to do that. And I'll get to color in a little bit. I'll just use a default color for now. But I want to show you how that's done. So whenever we're changing an attribute of our canvas, we are going to have to refer to our self. So self dot canvas dot. And you'll notice as I'm typing, Xcode gives you really helpful suggestions. And this is going to help you tremendously. So, and if you hit the tab key, it will finish what you're doing. Now, if I want to change the background color, all I do is hit equals, and C4 has some built-in colors. So if you just type C4, you'll get the C4 colors. They're not the most useful colors, but for testing purposes, they're useful. Now, what I've done here is I've accessed the self, that's the canvas, controller, and then within the canvas controller, I've accessed the canvas, and then I use the period to access the background color. So this period accesses parameters of the previous term. So, and you'll get used to that. It's really useful, and it's pretty helpful. But let's hit play and see what happens. There you go. Now it's blue. All right. So I'd like to create a shape, and I'm going to go, a great resource is the c4ios.com website. And I'm going to click on examples, and let's just do circles and squares. So, and let's change this to a different color, because the default color is C4 blue, and let's do gray for the background. And then let's talk about shapes. So I will warn you, the examples on c4ios.com tend to be quite complicated, and what I would suggest that you do is type this stuff out. I wouldn't copy and paste. In the interest of time, I'm going to copy and paste for these videos, but try to type it out just so you get used to the process of typing things out in Xcode. You'll become a better coder if you type things out. So I'm just going to go here and copy rectangle and paste it. And let's go ahead and hit play and see what happens. And you'll see Xcode is very verbose. It will give you a lot of little warnings and errors. Don't let that scare you. So when it launches, I know that it's launched. This is a very light gray, so, but nothing happened. So that's a problem. And this is probably going to be one of your first issues that you have. When you create a shape in Xcode in C4, you have to actually explicitly add it to the canvas. And oops, that tab is really terrible, so I'm going to select all, Command I, and boom. Canvas.add is at the right indent. Okay. So now let's try it. There. And so you see we've created a rectangle. I want to explain to you what this let means here. In Swift, there are a few different ways to store information, and all of our shapes are stored as information. They're actually called objects. So this rectangle is an object, and each object has a bunch of attributes like color and line thickness and all that kind of stuff that we can control. But at the very foundation of that is this let keyword. So I want to you'll want to remember that let is a constant, and var is a variable. Constants are permanent, non-changeable. And vars, variables, can change. So, you know, you would use let for something that doesn't change. Like maybe that's the width of the screen. It's not likely that that's going to change. But a variable, if you wanted to change something like, you know, like where the color is constantly changing, or then you would want to declare it as a var. So here they've declared it as a constant, the rectangle itself. Now the rectangle can have attributes that are variables inside of it, but the rectangle itself is a constant. Then to initialize it, we have this rectangle initializer, constructor, and it has a frame inside of it. So, and that frame is called a rect. Rect is another type of object. A rect just contains 4 coordinates. So for rectangles, we have the x and y coordinate of the upper left-hand corner, that is up here. And then we have the width and the height. So the width is 100 pixels and the height is 200. So that is basically how you would create a rectangle, and all the shapes work this way. As you're typing things out, what you'll notice is that Xcode will automatically fill in. Oh, rectangle. Oh, you probably want a frame. And then you would put your rect in there. So I want to talk a little bit about color. And let's go back to that self.canvas.background color equals. So in order to declare a color in C4, you're going to need, there are many different ways to do that. And the color constructor is capital C color with an open parentheses, and then Xcode gives you all of these different options. The easiest option to start with, I think, is this color, red integer, green integer, blue integer. And so I would click on that one because this is how we choose colors in Photoshop. So if I open up Photoshop real quick. Welcome to Photoshop, Masood. I'm glad I'm here too. Thank you, Adobe. So here's the color picker in Photoshop. If you don't have Photoshop, you can use any kind of color picker from any GIMP will work, any software. But let's move around and let's see what happens to the colors. So let's choose pure red. So this, I'm gonna close out of this window. So this red, green, integer thing is, these are all in this format. That's what it's looking for, RGB. So any color you choose, you can just plop in these numbers and it will copy that color exactly. So let's do this. So 0, 136, 187, and then alpha. Alpha is a double. So a double is a number with a decimal point. And whenever you see this, it's probably looking for a number from 0 to 1.0. So let's just put 1.0. And alpha is the transparency. So if I put 0.5, it would be 50% transparent. But a background color, it doesn't really make sense to have transparency, so I would leave that at 1. And let's hit play and see what happens. And there you go. So because this code came after this code, it's going to honor this one at the end. And that's color. I would play around with it. Try the other ones if you'd like. Just keep in mind the difference between int and double. Int, or integer, is a whole number, so you can't do decimals. If you do a decimal where an int is, it will give you an error. And doubles have a decimal point. The dot modifier. Okay, so one of the things you will quickly learn is that you're going to need to change attributes. So let's take this rectangle for a second, and let's think about what can we change on this rectangle. One of the ways to change the attributes is just to type rectangle, because that's what I named it. This here is the name of the variable. It could be called my rectangle. It could be called anything. So rectangle dot. So now we have all of these attributes, and we can change them if we'd like. Let's try corner, and let's say equals. I'm just gonna randomly put a number there and see what happens. Cannot assign double to type size. Okay, so here, this is an error, and Xcode is great about giving you errors. If you can't remember every single thing like me, then it'll tell you, no, it wasn't expecting a double, which is what 10 is. It's expecting a size. So let's change that back to capital size. So usually when it says size, then it's going to ask you for some kind of, it'll give you a constructor. And I'm just going to choose one of them. So width and height, that's easy for me to understand. So I'm going to say 4 and 10, and let's just see what happens. So you can see it changed the quality of the corners, and let's just make that a little bit more extreme so that you can actually see 25, see what it's doing. There you go. So that's a great little starter to get you started with your assignment. And just remember, we're working with a coordinate system. 0, 0 is in the upper left-hand corner, And in the reading, there's a trick to finding the width and height of your screen. Good luck coding, and I will see you in the next video.